extremely exceptional. Obama out there doesn't like the idea that we are exceptional, and he's jumping into this whole realm of people denigrating America on Columbus Day. And, Obama said a European discovery of New World introduced disease, devastation, and violence. Now, I got to tell you something. Yeah, with the advent of immigrants from Europe coming here, there were diseases that the native peoples did not see before, and so their bodies could not fight them off. Like chicken pox and measles and things like that. It was often devastating to native populations. Now, understand that the Europeans knew nothing about biological warfare back then. So it's not something that they did on purpose. They didn't infect themselves before they came here and then decided to, sneeze and cough on every Native American and cause them to get these horrible diseases that most Europeans, got in their childhood and often lived through, which ended up killing many of the adults here in the New World when they came across those things. So the disease, it was new diseases to them. I get that part, but that's true of any time. I mean, from Europeans going to the Orient, they traded diseases that people didn't understand or realize were there on both sides. Asian people died from European diseases, and Europeans died from some Asian diseases as they crossed. It just the way the world worked. Plain and simple. Nobody was doing biological warfare. As far as devastation and violence, let me tell you something. This land that we call the New World was not all kumbaya, peace, love, and understanding. I mean, there were some major, long-standing, long-going wars between the native peoples here. And understand that Native Americans, they could be and were extremely brutal. So, no, the European man didn't introduce devastation and violence to the New World. It was already here. What the Europeans did was introduce something new called a firearm that made it more efficient for the native peoples to continue their acts of devastation and violence against each other as well as the white man. So this whole notion that what they're trying to say is that, the Europeans came here and this was a land and world of peace and kumbaya and everybody got along and skip to my loo, my darling, all that kind of is a crock. I mean, especially if you go down into South America and you look at some of those civilizations, they were absolutely brutal. In fact, if they were modern today, we would say that they committed war crimes because they were so devastatingly brutal. Unbelievably brutal. Even by today's standards, those people were, I'm not disparaging them at all, but I'm telling you the facts. You want to talk about, the people like the Incas and the Aztecs and live sacrifice and plunging knives into sacrificial lambs, if you will, chest and pulling out their heart while it's still beating, while the person has 5 seconds to see his own heart beating outside of his chest. That's brutal. We want to say that Muslims are brutal by beheading people. Well, that's just as brutal. So that's not peace, love, and understanding there. It really isn't. So we have to bring this into perspective. This president is just a jackass. Yeah, I said it. He's a total and complete anti-American jackass. No president should ever run around saying, Columbus introduced, he introduced the New World to disease, devastation, and violence, as if this was some sort of, of tropical paradise. Far from it. I mean, let's be factual about this. Me being part Cherokee, Cherokee Nation, they were pretty brutal with their enemies too. They were not all kumbaya either. I'm just being factual. I'm not being, not deriding anyone, past or present. It's just the way it was. Again, teaching the facts. We may not like the history that we have, but it is still our history. And we have to teach it truthfully and factually. I have no ideological bent to this. It is just the facts. I find it amazing that we do teach how brutal, civilizations like the Incas and the Aztecs were. And yet we still have this notion that Europeans introduced devastation and violence to the New World. I don't understand the thought process behind it. It's illogical, I know, but I just don't understand the thought process behind it. I can't wrap my logical brain around that. Why would you even? I don't know. I don't have an answer for you on that one, other than the fact that these people just for whatever reason they have this whole hatred for the United States and for what we actually stand for. Yeah. Well, that's what President Obama said from the White House on Friday. Now, this is also what he said. Though these early travels expanded the realm of European exploration to many, they also marked a time that forever changed the world for the indigenous peoples of North America. Obama then wrote, previously unseen disease, devastation, and violence were introduced to their life. What unseen, previously unseen? I don't know. Maybe because Europeans just shot you. They didn't rip your heart out of your chest. So I guess that was a different kind of violence. And might I add, this whole notion of scalps, Native Americans did that too. They scalped Europeans, innocent European settlers. Well, let's also, be factual about that. They took people's, so this introduction of It just bothers me to no end that people would try to rewrite history in such a fashion to make Europeans, white people actually, look like the devil incarnate, while everybody else is just innocent, Pollyanna type of stuff. And that's not the case. History just does not bear that out. Plain and simple. Did you hear what Obama said about himself? You probably did. Obama claims that if I could run, I'd win a third term easily. I'd win. Yes, I'd win if I ran for president again, but I'm not running. Well, two things wrong with that, Mr. President. I know your ego prevents you from actually believing the truth. But no, you're not running simply, for two reasons. One, because the Constitution forbids it. You can't run. And you haven't figured out a way to executive order yourself past the Constitution in order to run for a term. So you can't do it. But the bigger thing is, even if you could do it, FDR, you wouldn't win a third term. I'm not even sure you'd make it through your primary. Well, considering who the Democrats are throwing up for their primary, for their Democratic primary, yeah, he might just get the nomination again. Seriously. I mean, look who they have. You want to talk about a shallow, let's go down the list. Yeah, obviously, you've got, Bernie Sanders. The Democratic Socialist, he admits, hey, I'm a Democratic Socialist. He says it. People are out there, no, he's not he's not a socialist. No, Bernie Sanders says he's a socialist. So their bench consists of Webb, Sanders, Clinton, O'Malley, and Chafee. And possibly Biden. Now, I find it interesting that there's only 5 people in the race for the Democratic nomination. And even the lamestream media is only paying attention to 2 of them. Webb, O'Malley, and Chafee, they're like, the 0 and 1%ers on the Republican side. And the Republicans have we still got 14, 15 candidates in the race. So we got a lot of people. But yet they can only garner 2 people. And one is falling in the polls faster than the lead anchor in a saltless sea. And she's the heir apparent, and she's doing so bad that, that they're thinking, well, maybe we need to bring out Joe. Bring Joe out. Oh, for goodness sakes. Good God. Joe, sit down, man. So you have Sanders and Clinton, and I think in certain polls in that order, Sanders and Clinton, and in certain other polls it's still Clinton and Sanders. But I think the rest is it runs O'Malley, then Webb, then Chafee, and I guess Webb and Chafee, what do they got, like 2% each, and they sort of switch off who's in last place. But it is pretty bad when the Democratic Party has 5 people in the race over there. Their heir apparent is doing so bad, it's imploding by the day. And that this Sanders guy is coming on so strong, they can't. The DNC just cannot see Sanders as being their nominee, and yet they cannot trust or go to one of the other 3 to try to build them up. They have to bring in somebody from the outside. Yeah, we're going to bring in the relief pitcher, Joe Biden. And they go to Joe Biden for their relief. If the Republicans cannot walk away with this election, this country's done. We're done. I'm telling you, think about it. You have got the most unpopular Democrats in Congress that Congress has ever seen right now, in the form of Pelosi and Reid and a few others. You have got, I know the Republicans do such a wonderful job of self-destruction themselves, but and you got this guy in the White House who's just totally and completely destroyed the Democratic Party. And the Democrats are on the ropes. I mean, it's as if they're drowning in 3 inches of water. And they can't figure out how to stand up to save themselves. And yet, there is a good possibility that the Republicans could lose control of the Senate. And there's a good possibility that we don't win the White House. And I'm telling you, if we do not walk away with the election of 2016, it's over. It is over. It is going to be generations before we're able to get this country back. Plain and simple. I know that we have a major enemy of freedom and liberty in the Constitution. That's called the lamestream media. I fully understand that, and they still have power and influence. But I'm telling you, the way this country is right now, with the sentiment of the people right now, if the Republicans can't get their act together, because this is their election to lose, if they lose it, it's over. I mean, again, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer. That's the truth, folks. But I have high hopes that we could really do some great things come November of 2016. I still have a lot of hope. Hope you do too.